In this video, we're going to take a look at the characteristics and the organization of a personal narrative. Before starting this video, you will need out your writer's notebook to take notes and also your practice companion book. The goal for today's video is that you will understand both the characteristics and the organization of a personal narrative. Now, before we start talking about a personal narrative and getting really deep into it, what I want you to do is get out your writing journal and write down what you already know about a personal narrative in this form of writing. Think about some of the characteristics, think about what a personal narrative is, think about why someone would want to write a personal narrative. So what I want you to do is to pause the video now, write what you know about a personal narrative. When you're finished, press play, and we'll look at the what and the why behind personal narratives. So I want you to pause the video now. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at the what and the why behind personal narratives. And the what pretty much describes some of the characteristics of a personal narrative, and the why explains why someone would want to write a personal narrative. So first of all, the what, or the characteristics. A personal narrative is just a narrative of an interesting real life experience. Also, within a personal narrative, the details explain what happened, and another characteristic within a personal narrative is that you include details that explain how you felt about a situation or about your story that you're writing. Why would you ever want to write a personal narrative? You would want to do that to share an experience that was important to you. You would also want to do this to record a memory or tell about your life. And then finally, you would want to write a personal narrative in order to publish your story. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the writing model, and this is located in your practice companion book on page 84. Now it's important to remember whenever you're reading the writing model that you're not just reading it for pleasure, you're reading it with a critical eye and trying to pick up tips and tricks to improve your personal narrative and learn from the author. So what I'm going to have you do is eventually pause this video, and I'm going to have you read the writing model on Practice Companion page 84. Now while you're reading this writing model, either do it while you're reading it or after you're reading it, what I want you to do are answer these questions in your writing journal. Okay, so think about, what did you like about this personal narrative? What didn't you like about it? Another question I want you to answer is, how can you tell this type of writing is a personal narrative? Next, why did the author write this personal narrative? How do you know that this experience was important to the author's life? And finally, how do you think the author feels about the events in the narrative? So it's important to understand that these questions may not have a right or a wrong answer. I just want you to think through this writing piece. So what I'll have you do now is pause the video, read the model writing piece, and then answer the following questions that I have on the screen for you. So I want you to pause the video now. So now what we're going to do is take a look at some characteristics of a personal narrative. You can probably see these characteristics within the writing model as well. So we can see within a personal narrative that it's going to tell something real that happened to the writer. This is not a fictional story. This is a non-fiction story that you're writing about yourself. You also will want to include details that tell how the writer felt or how you felt. A personal narrative also has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And also within a personal narrative, it tells why that experience was special to the writer. And then also it uses the pronoun I as the author, or as you're writing your personal narrative. So as you're writing your personal narrative, you want to keep these characteristics in mind. I would even suggest you writing this in your writing journal so you can have it for notes to refer back to as you are writing your personal narrative. Now what we're going to do is take a look at the organization of a personal narrative. Now it's really important to understand that personal narratives always have a beginning, middle, and an end. And also personal narratives are usually told in the order in which they happen. In other words, they're told in sequential order. So we're going to take a look at the writing model once again, and we're going to look at the beginning, middle, and end of this writing piece. So the beginning, I would say the first 3 paragraphs kind of represent the beginning of this writing piece. Now within these first 3 paragraphs, the organization of it, first of all, we can see that Lucas meets the new family that moved from India. You can see that in that first paragraph that Lucas was happy that a new family from India moved in, and also his mom wanted to have Lucas make friends with this new family. Now we can also see in paragraphs 4 and 5 would be considered the middle part of this personal narrative, that Lucas teaches Karam about baseball and Karam teaches Lucas about India and cricket. Also, Lucas introduces Karam to Tommy. Finally, within this model personal narrative, at the end in paragraph 6, we can see that Lucas, Karam, and Tommy are all friends. So this gives you an idea about the organization of a personal narrative. You can see that a personal narrative needs to have a beginning. So you can see a very easy beginning. Lucas meets the new family. The middle, they start to know each other a little bit better. Then finally, in the end, all three boys become friends. So you can see a little bit more visually how the personal narrative is set up. Now what you will need to do for your in-class work is when you get into class, you'll need to write your ideas and questions about personal narratives in your writer's notebook, and also read over the rubric. If you have these ideas and questions fresh in your mind right now, you can even do that now, and I can meet with you in class. So that gives you the basic idea behind the characteristics and organization of a personal narrative. If you have any questions about this topic, please come and see me.